Monday, which, as some of you well know, is the day that I do my live streaming. Yes, yes, I know that I do my live streaming on many days, but Monday is the day that I actually plan to do live streaming. So uh, that's the big difference here. So, first thing I need to do is put the link out so that if any of the usual suspects show up, like my brother, we can get him in here to chat with me. I might actually send it direct to him too, because sometimes you got to be more direct with that guy. He's a little bit of a hard head, you know. This last like 3 chats, I have not added Twitch to it, and as suspected, it's better. It's better because oh, that is weird. All right, so let's do this. I'm not looking at the screen if anybody's chatting right now. I'm on another screen. So I got my Greyhawk maps today. Pretty happy about that. I'm gonna have to measure them out. Hey, Daniel Berry, how you doing? I'm gonna have to measure them out to see like what size of a poster thing I'm gonna have to get for them. Because, hey, Squirrel Hermit, let me see. Let me jump up real quick. As you can see, I moved the one table out that was over there I'd worked on. It's moved out and hung up and everything. I still need to clear this off and move it out. But I was a bad monkey today and spent most of the day running around Valheim, killing wolves and snow elementals and dragons and stuff like that. Yep, here's what I got. This is the 4 maps that came in the Dragon magazine. Now, I have the classic map, obviously, that came with the Gazetteer. You know, obviously. But now I've got these 4 maps, and I don't know if they're different or what from the original. I mean, the art's a little different, obviously, but they're big as hell. So I'm going to have to lay these out, I believe. Yeah, because look at this. Come on now. I'm going to have to lay these out, flatten them out, and then find a poster holder that can fit 4 of these in it. Hey, what's up, homie? How you doing? COD. So, of course, this is... Where is this? This is where the characters are near, actually. Yeah, they're right now in the Lost Caverns of Sajkamp. So it's actually on this map, and the town near them is Polvar. Of course, if they went the other way through the mountains, they could end up in Falwer or Highfolk. So they've mostly been marching down to Bissell, to Thornwood, but, you know, whatever. So there's actually 4 of them this size. And I lucked out and I found them on eBay for sale for pretty cheap. It's a map. It is a map. It is the map of Greyhawk that came in the 4 Dragon magazines years ago. And Paizo no longer sells them, unfortunately. Because one of the bros was like, you know, Paizo sells those still. And so I actually was like, really? I couldn't find them. So he went on, well, by the bro, it was Bear, I believe. He actually went on the Paizo site to see if he could find it for me, and no. What's up, James? Other James? You're either young James or old James. I don't know. But, to pay homage to the ancient Greeks, that means I would call you either James the Elder or James the Younger. Like Critias and stuff like that. But yeah, RPG Dad, it's the map of Greyhawk. I have the Darlene map, which I love. Oh man, I love the sugar-free Hawaiian Punch monster drink. But yeah, I've been bad. I haven't got any of the stuff I want done today because so you are James the Elder. I've been, as I said, running around Valheim, slaughtering wolves, mainly because, and those of you who know, and if you don't know, you can guess, but I need to kill a bunch of wolves so I can get enough fur so that I can make a big wolf dragon something bed, which will increase my rested stuff. And the longer your character is rested while you're out adventuring, it's like the quicker you regenerate everything. So it's a really good thing. So that's kind of what I did, So not proud of it, but I did get all the wolf hides, I'm at a point in the game where not that long ago, actually, if a wolf showed up, it was like instant dead for me. But now I'm at that point where I actually hunt them bastards down because the food that I can eat, I can go hunting with like 130 hit points and all that. So my patches for my I've got a set of fatigues. They're the newer ones that I bought for hunting. So they've got like the Velcro for your flags and stuff. So that's a Jerusalem cross. So King Baldwin. But anyway, what have I been doing? 3D printing. Actually, I haven't 3D printed in a couple days since the last time I streamed, I guess, or whatever. I've got some skeletons that I 3D printed. These are really simple sculpts. And they're armored. So I've already done the armor. So now all I got to do is get my bone color and go back through and pick out all the bone parts and then paint the cloth of their cape. I don't know, some color. Probably like a nasty old red, But yeah, that's basically it. And then I 3D print some warp design pig-faced orc heads, but I made them small, like 28 millimeter instead of 32. And I 3D print a bunch of orcs from the Printing Goes Ever On, who prints their orcs at 25 mil because they're designed to be used with the Lord of the Rings war game. But I cut the Tolkien orc heads off and put pig-faced orc heads on. Yes, I do 3D print some terrain, Daryl. Like the latest thing I printed, of course, not as one piece. This was 3 pieces, but this. And I'll paint it up and, I also print out like 3-inch dungeon walls and cavern walls and all that. Oh, Bear's here. So there he is.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, Bear?
I just finished the rough draft of Valorous.
Already, nice.
My eyes
Fat,
are bugging
jaggy
out of
game.
my head.
Okay, I'm sorry. So how'd it go?
I think it's good. You want me to send it? Well, where can I send it over to you? Just take a look at it. See what you think.
I think you might have to send it to my Discord, but I will check my Discord today.
All right, I'll send it to you right now on Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think look, it's solid. It needs play testing. Obviously, got to find all the break points. Where all the bad makes
Good
and
shit.
that type of thing. But otherwise, it's good. My eyes are bugging out, man. I've been working on this for like since Sunday. No, since Saturday. Like just been working on it nonstop. Actually, I started I think on Friday.
It's
Yeah, so
good
like
though because when you
nonstop.
get that strike of inspiration,
Yeah,
it's good to knock it out. James, I have a ton of the Fat Dragon STLs, but um, they're the orcs from the Raskin Bass Hobbit cartoon,
Rankin Bass. Yeah, yeah.
which I love them. I don't use them, but I printed up like 40 of those bastards because you got one with sword and a mace and a flail and a spear. And they recently released like the one with the whip from the Lord of the Rings cartoon,
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
they're like, where there's a whip. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm a goofy bastard anyway, though, guys. Even though I'm running the Greyhawk game, like I said, and they're up in the uh Letmel Mountains or whatever, my maps came in. So
Oh,
I'll be able to
nice.
measure them out. But I have added, because this is how much of a dork I am, uh the Venger from the cartoon, and Warduke has already made an appearance in my campaign. Yeah, I love those orcs. There's something about them with the horns and the bulldog heads and and the stompy little feet when they're stomping. Yeah, kill them, bone them, flay them alive. When the orcs are singing, when no.
I fucking hated those movies.
But that part was so cool when Samwise gets out there and he's like, "You mean to tell me you're going to let a bunch of man things go before us?" And the sergeant's like, "Yeah." And then they're like,
Frodo of the Nine Fingers and the Ring of Doom. Like I wanted to fucking punch the TV. You know what I
"Oh,
mean?
I'm not saying they're great. You need to love them." That was a great scene. And I loved when the orcs sang.
Ugh.
We don't
Oh,
want to go to war today, but the bear of the lush says, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just like, Daryl, yeah, sure. But I'm goofy like that. So I got the STLs for Venger on his Nightmare on foot, Warduke Kellic, the freaking half orc assassin, the evil female sorceress, like the whole evil band. I got them on at 28 mil, printed them all out, painted them. One thing that's in the box right now is the priestess from Goblin Slayer.
Oh, nice.
I already have the Goblin Slayer, but now I've got the priestess too.
Wait, you're 16? What the fuck?
Yeah, right. When he finds out how old she is, he's like, oh, like, no names. We don't use names. I enjoy that version. I think Bear might be right that it was goofy, but when I
Hang
saw
on
it, I
though.
was like 10.
When I was 8, no, 10, I saw the Ralph Bashki Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that shit was scary.
Right? So I was like, this is awesome. So then
Yeah.
when I heard that, there's like they've made the sequel, it's Return of the King. I'm like, I sat down excited to watch it, and it was not the sequel.
It was the Rankin Bass version.
Yeah.
Like even the rotoscope, how he did the orcs. Some
Yeah.
people might say that they weren't that great, which they
I
weren't,
liked them.
but they were still creepy as shit. When you seen the mob of them and they're all like, you could see the red eyes and the fangs and shit,
Are you good?
Yeah, that was good. And actually, they did all of the characters in the Bakshi version of Tolkien were dead on. Like Aragorn looked like Aragorn should have looked. He was kind of a really deeply tanned, not very handsome, kind of guy. And I don't know if Boromir should look like a Viking or not, but who cares? That was a good show. And I thought they did a great job. Or Bakshi did, but I guess I don't know what happened with why they didn't let him finish it. But I mean, when I was in third grade, I remember my teacher saying, tonight at 8 o'clock on channel 11, they're going to be showing the Tolkien's The Hobbit. And I really suggest you all go and watch it. And we went, and it was the cartoon with all the singing, the greatest adventure and all that shit. And the next day, the teacher, who this was math class, but I remember he's a big kind of, he looked like Meatball or Meathead from Archie Bunker.
Yeah.
Like, not now, but then, in the show. But yeah, he asked us how we, I mean, this guy was obviously a Tolkien nerd, even though it was math class. So he's all like, so who watched it? And we're all like, all of us did. And he's like, what do you think? And of course, we're all like, well, I'd already read the book, but I was like, hey, that's cool. Whatever. But I'm excited. I will definitely be looking over your rule set tonight.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Sorry. Dude, take your time. No rush. No rush. I'll appreciate it, though.
And then last night, the game went... Since
how'd
we've been
that go?
running OSC, I've been getting the game started earlier, and it's been running longer than we planned because, we're not keeping track of time, counting down the minutes till the end of the game. And the group has finally managed to find their way to the staircase leading down to the greater caves.
What mod were you doing?
The Lost Tomb of Sajkank. So the
Lost Caverns of Sajkank.
Yes.
Sajkank. Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Had a few of them almost really get whacked by the Fomorian giants.
I'm telling you, man, the Bodak took us out.
It's like, I've got a miniature of one of them over there, the Fomorian. They're all twisted. But
when we did that one, we got taken out by the motherfucking Bodak.
That Bodak is no joke, and we'll see how things go.
I was at TPK with the group. We were in high school, but still,
Yeah, he is no joke, and like the encounter is crazy too, with all the like bodies that he's kind of melted into the wall, like covered over with limestone and stuff. And the fact that he's got a save or die, gaze attack and all that shit. Like,
now, that was the thing that got us, was the save or die gaze attack. Because we didn't know. We all walked into the thing, and the GM's like, there's a man standing up ahead, and we're all like, what does he look like? Who's he look like? So he's like, we're just confirming that we're staring straight at him. It's just, boop. Hey, look at that. 4 of us.
Hey, there's Hungar. Yeah, so they did manage to make friends with the Patch.
Oh, it was good for them.
Yeah, one of the gnomes shined a lantern down there, and the Patch yelled back in Gnomish, "Turn that light out, stupid!" So they did. And the Patch came up, and they started talking, and we were rolling for their... I rolled on the chart for their... reaction, and they were friendly, so they ended up asking the Patch what was in some neighboring caves and stuff like that. Banish, that was bullshit. They encountered some summoned enchanted monster thing, and the cleric in the group used Banish Evil, and the monster rolled a nat 1 on its save.
Lame.
So it's like the creature come running around like, rah! And the cleric's like, Banish Evil. I was like, well, okay then. And then the group had a big chat about whether to go back to town or go down the staircase. And like one of the rangers was really worried that if they leave, the staircase might vanish or something. And so they ended up staying. And luckily, the gnome illusionist, one of them has rope trick. So they rope tricked, even though they're still keeping guards. So, but it was pretty good. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun, and my wife made a pork shoulder and then shredded it, but didn't put any sauce on it. She lets people sauce it how they want.
Nice.
So and it didn't need any sauce because she cooked it in apple cider. Hard cider. Yeah, she cooked it in hard cider and with a bunch of seasoning.
Very nice.
Yeah, I don't understand. These people are like, white people don't season their food. And I'm like, what?
Oh, that whole thing that's running around now on the internet, the white people don't season food. It's like, yeah, they do. It's called salt and pepper, you fucking moron.
Yeah,
And then
salt,
they cook it
pepper.
in the vegetables. Instead of using onion powder, we use onions. Instead of using garlic powder, we use garlic.
Yeah, we season the hell out of everything around here. I mean, in my spice cabinet, we've got like 3 kinds of tikka masala, a couple kinds of curry powder. I mean, we've of course we got Sandrays or whatever Cajun seasoning. You gotta have that.
Old Bay is popular in the States.
Mm-hmm. Old Bay is good for seafood. If you're going to like batter fry some catfish or something, a little Old Bay.
Salt
and pepper. If you have good ingredients, the salt and pepper is all you need. If you're eating garbage, then you might need a lot of strong seasoning to cover the fact that you're eating garbage. But
that it's garbage. I'll be right back. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee.
Okay. So, George, I see you have said the name. Are you talking about James Lowry or are you talking about me? James is a common name, which is good. But yeah, the whole group was laughing because I thought this monster was really going to wreck them. And the banish evil thing was just like, I mean, granted, I could have rolled better than a 1. Smells like rotten fish. Oh, Bear's not just a member of Overactors Hair Club for Men. When you're eating chitlins, you need a lot of seasoning. I will never eat. Rawr is dinosaur for hello. Yeah, like rawr, come running out at him. I will never eat chitlins. You could not pay me any amount of money to eat the guts of a pig or anything. Hey, Raven, long time no see. Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. My wife does not over salt food, and I tend not to salt food either, but I will dump just like a ton of pepper on everything. I'm a huge fan of pepper. So, Raven, how have you been? Good, I hope. But yeah, I just been running the game and painting up some. I still need to neaten these guys up, but in case the characters got to the gnome village, I decided to paint up some gnomes. So I got like 6 of these, but they're all painted different color combos. And I decided I was going to do the hair colors based on like World of Warcraft for whatever reason. So I ended up making them some purple hair and some pink haired ones. But I've got some normal, dark haired ones too, What is
you're reprobate.
You're the reprobate. I'm a good boy.
I'll take it.
But well, most of the time anyway. But yeah, so that's what happened. The evil monster came out and the cleric said banish evil, and it went. Yeah, I'm not eating any lamb guts either. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I don't eat that for Easter. Blech.
Nope, not on my menu.
No, we on the first feast day, we have pork, and also you guys have heard me talk about pancake week. But then also eggs and stuff because you fast like a lot leading up to, as you guys know. And then, yeah, that's I love most Greek food, but some Greek food is a little out there. I'm not eating any freaking anything. I'm not eating the guts of anything. Now I'll eat liver. I've ate blood pudding, etc. I have ate Rocky Mountain oysters, but not made from sheep. When I ate them, they were bull testicles. And I was actually involved in the harvesting of those bull testicles because I worked on a Deseret Ranch at the time. So when a male bull hits a certain age, about close to a year, if it's not going to be a breeding bull, you round them all up into the chute, and then you
Whop them off.
Yeah, it's more like you grab them and slit it and then pop them off, and then put like a bandage around so that it'll heal up and they won't bleed. I mean, you try to be really but when I had them, the guy, the way they were prepared is they were really washed off, and then they were like butterflied and then fried like country fried steak. And they were absolutely delicious. So, spaghetti.
Did I hear you let a reprobate in here? Oh, yeah, there he is.
Yeah, I let the.
Oh, there he is. There's a Canadian directives.
Yeah, his internet is terrible.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's acting up. Replace the sheep guts with chicken, and it's a great Greek dish. Yeah, okay, I'll go for that.
All right, better.
A little better. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my favorite thing, we have a local Greek restaurant, at least we did before, the Koof killed it. And they made the best calamari you ever had. It was absolutely amazing.
What?
And it wasn't rings. They cut it into strips and then fried it. And then the tentacles were there too. So
yeah,
I like calamari.
Nope. No, sir. Thank you. No, good. Thank you. No.
Well, I mean, okay, that's cool. I mean, they also had the best gyros like in Orlando too, but.
Wow. How was their spanakopita?
Amazing.
That's all that counts, man.
You could go there and they had like what did they call it? The demigod's platter or some shit like that. And it would come with like moussaka and pita and gyro meat and like a salad and spinacopla. And like it would have like, it was this whole big platter and it'd have like 7 things on it,
Okay.
They had amazing hummus too. Their hummus was so good. And they'd serve it with a little bit of the warm olive oil on the top. Which, yeah, see, people like, a lot of people. It was snowing earlier. No, man, I wish it was snowing down here. It's been like 90 degrees. No matter how you cut it, it's still squid and still disgusting. It's amazing how many people agree with you, Raven. My sister-in-law does not eat anything that comes out of the water. Which I'm like, I don't get it, but hey, okay. I was not brought upon this earth to get it.
We're not put upon this earth to get it, Mr. Burton.
Yeah, there are some people that are that way. They won't eat seafood. They don't like fish, whatever.
I grew up in a fishing village. I cannot eat fish anymore because it's disgusting. How cod's really delicious?
Oh, my mom makes the best fried cod.
Yeah. You ever seen a live cod cut open?
No.
Yes.
Yeah. You will never eat cod again after you see that.
I mean, I've cut open a bunch of fish, but usually it was like bass or Bluegills,
cod
sunfish.
is full of parasites.
Are they?
Oh yeah, like when you cut them open, you can see them squirming around. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm not.
Yeah, you'd
I'm
care.
not turned
Trust me.
off. I'm not turned off by it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've ate insects and stuff in my life, so
Why?
because I went through survival training in the army,
Oh, that's different.
and we ate
You were
worms.
supposed- You're supposed to survive it, not like it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, anyways, Bear,
Haddock and pollock
I have to
are
ask you a
preferred
question.
to whitefish. Yeah.
You're-
Does Bear
you're
like
more-
fish sticks?
Bear, do you like fish sticks?
Just stick up your ass. That's what I like. Keys.
Offal is all the guts on the inside of stuff. It's like the British used to call it offal or offal or however you say
Offal.
it. But it's like all of the intestines and everything inside of a creature. But we have a place in town that
Disgusting.
does like red snapper, fried red snapper, and it's amazing.
Oh, red snapper we've us on. Tasty fish.
Yeah, very tasty. You're so stupid. I love that. You get it all on you. Yeah. Freaking Weird Al. Fried crickets are good. I wouldn't know.
No.
I wouldn't know. I've ate
Ew.
worms though and ants, but so
My
crickets
mom
are
brought
probably
home
no
we
different.
covered ants once, and it was like, what's the big deal with these things? You know?
Well, if you put enough chocolate on anything, you could probably handle it.
Chocolate covered rabbit turds. They're crunchy.
Rabbits eat them, so they might, whatever. Awful, maybe. Actually, that could be that could be. I have a like liver and kidneys and blood, but I'm not eating any guts or any part of the like digestive tract. That's a no-go.
I've eaten esophagus, beef esophagus. It was nasty.
We used to eat like a oxtail.
Oxtail's all right, especially if you get like a good
And
oxtail
we ate
soup.
neck bones.
Caribbean.
Wait, neck bones. Like the
Yeah.
neck bones of a
Yeah,
pig. or a cow.
esophagus is rough. I was at a Chinese restaurant in Vancouver. I was so excited to be in Vancouver. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting like the best Chinese food, right? No, I'm getting authentic, real Chinese food, not North American Chinese food.
Yeah.
So I'm eating beef and broccoli. I love beef and broccoli. Beef and broccoli is an amazing thing. And as I'm eating the beef, I'm like, boy, this is really weird textured beef. Like, what the fuck is this? So I asked the waitress, like, esophagus. I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, throat. And I'm like, oh, no.
Like, ain't that just a kick in the pants?
I just, no.
Well, I mean,
Think about how racist we all were. We were all so fucking racist when COVID happened. We were all okay with the idea that, yep, absolutely, COVID got started by the weird shit Chinese people eat. And even the media was okay with that. It was like, fuck, that was racist.
well, now though they're admitting, and is it racist if it's true? But it wasn't true. Now
No, it
they're
wasn't.
admitting it got out of the lab.
Yeah.
Yeah, beef tongue isn't horrible at all.
It depends
I
how you
went-
cook it. It's like everything else. It depends how you cook it.
yeah. I've had street tacos. It's called carne de lingua.
Ew.
See, Bubba knows what I'm talking about. And they take it and they cut it very, very thin. And then they grill it with like, some seasoning. And then it goes in the taco shell with maybe a little onion and cilantro. And you get a piece of lime to put on your tacos. And it's good. It's actually good. But see, people, carne de lingua. Braunschweiger, I eat that every now and then when the wife gets it for me. It's basically like liverwurst. It's just ground up liver and bacon fat, and then they form it into like a tube, and you can eat it spread on a sandwich or like me on crackers or something.
On the one hand, I'm really happy I ate my supper before coming on here, and now on the other hand, I'm really sad that I ate my supper before I came on here. Just want to throw up.
Yeah, Raven said we already put her off of her poor freaking She was eating, I guess, some delicious spaghetti, and we put her off of it.
Yeah, but if it's Raven, it was like spaghetti a la mystical. It was, fucking Hermes Trismegistus sauce or,
Hermes Trismegistus sauce.
you know.
Wasn't there like a great philosopher from back in the old days that was named something like that?
Hermes Trismegistus, Hermes thrice magical or thrice wondrous, is a very, very popular character in occult conspiracy theory. He's
Yeah,
right up there
I've
with the
heard
Count
that
Saint
name.
Germain, or as I used to call Shadow, the Cunt Saint Germain.
Corned beef, obviously, even though someone I grew up with swore up and down corned beef was made out of horse.
Oh, God.
And he'd always be like, you see how grainy that meat is? There's no way that's from a cow. And it's like, no, it's a brisket, you idiot. Pastrami, one of my favorite things ever. And as everyone knows, no, you don't order a pastrami sandwich on rye with mayonnaise.
No.
Mustard.
So it's smoked meat on rye with mustard, right? That's it's always going to be. But goyim, it's smoked meat on white with mayo.
The only thing I like with mayo is everything that's not made out of beef.
I like mayo on fries.
I have a weakness for Italian
Indulgence.
salami, especially Genoa. So,
well, aren't you Italian?
We have a company here in Canada called Schneider's, and they do a summer sausage every year. And you can go Quebec, you can't get it. The rest of Canada, you can buy the packs of the sliced summer sausage. Fuck, it's good. It's really good.
Yeah. But
just shut up, Bear. What are you talking about there, witchy poo?
Witchy poo. Yeah.
Look there, witchy poo.
That's a term of endearment, I would say. Witchy
I am
poo.
a big fan of Raven. I think the world of her, but I also have to be the only person on the planet that apparently keeps her honest.
I let her say what she says because she might be right. And I don't know. So if I don't know someone's wrong.
This is Scarlett from FlexJob. We are hiring part-time workers to boost YouTube video visibility. Earn $50 to $400 daily. Free training, no experience needed. You must be
Is that you, Vic?
23 years old.
Not me.
If you're interested, press 1 and a manager will contact you via WhatsApp within 24 hours. Please keep an eye on WhatsApp to avoid missing out on this job opportunity.
Oh, please contact me. I want to fuck with you.
I get job offers all the time. I just turn them all down.
Oh, no, they're not real. It's just a scam. But the thing is I love fucking with them and wasting their time. So maybe that's one gullible person less they get that day.
I get letters in the mail all the time from people trying to buy my house and or my property up north. It's like a very common thing. I'll get a letter and it'll be like, all you got to do is sign this and then we'll send you a check for this amount, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. Oh, you're welcome, Raven. I've got a soft spot for hippies that believe. I mean, I believe weird shit too. I wouldn't say I believe as weird of stuff as you, but maybe people would disagree. Like, I don't believe in UFOs. I don't believe in aliens. I don't believe in trans-dimensional bullshit. I do believe in dogmen and Bigfoot and possibly reptilian things living deep in caves underground. So I'm somewhere on that iceberg of believing in weird shit, but I don't think I'm quite as far. Now, the ley line thing that Bear loves so much, I actually lean more towards your side on that because magnetism is freaking some crazy shit.
Yes, but magnetism doesn't run in lines.
I think it does on the Earth, actually.
No, it runs in ripples.
Oh, well, okay.
Waves.
I mean, but there's actual rivers of magnetism that flow around the Earth. Even Carl Jung talks about that. They talk about sacred geometry, how every creature that has ever existed on the planet.
Yes, Raven, it's a scam. Do not no one randomly sends you checks in the mail in the fucking year 2025, Raven.
Also, Raven,
That's-
if it was from a prince in Nigeria, definitely it's a scam.
Yes,
No,
the
no.
Nigerians do not have a space program, so
And they also don't have a noble family. They're ruled by president. They have a democratically elected government. So there is no Nigerian prince that's going to send you a bunch of money. Got a knock on the door by realtor. I sold that month and moved to Colorado for 8 years. Sorry to hear you had to move to Colorado, but otherwise, great.
Well, he was
smoked
only
all
there
the
for 8
sales
years.
away.
He obviously left before the Californians took it over because it's turned into a shithole state.
What's up, Lee? Yeah, I don't know about Colorado so much, but I have a niece that lives in Montana, and boy, they hate people from California there.
Well, I got a buddy that lives out in Denver. He's been out there for 35, 40 years, and he wants to escape so badly, but his wife won't let him. And I'm just like, sucks to be you, man.
Can you imagine going out of your way to move to like Montana so you wouldn't have to see people, and then 3 years into living there, getting surrounded by subdivisions full of Californians?
Oh, Jesus.
That just pissed me off. But, you know, what are you going to do? Move to
Arson.
Saskatchewan?
arson's always an option.
Yeah, Saskatchewan. There ain't too many people up there.
Hey, that's why you
Again,
buy enough
arson.
property that you can have enough property out there that if all these people encroach on you and they start saying stuff like, you got to join our HOA, you can flip them the middle finger and sue them for harassment and shit.
I'm not sure if Raven's last statement is racist or not.
Well,
That's-
American is not racist.
No,
There
but
is
just
no
the implication
American
of
race.
because it's an American dude, clearly it's not a scam, right?
No.
Like if it was like an Indian dude or a Filipino dude, right?
Well, but he
Or a
could
Nigerian dude,
be of
right?
Indian or Filipino descent and still be American, though.
Because Lord knows there's never been an American who's ever scammed anyone ever.
Yeah, but like I keep saying, it has nothing to do with ethnicity. Saying you're American
Okay,
is not an
your
ethnicity.
pragmatism is ruining the joke, so just stop. You fucking
Sorry,
right.
I'm sorry. I'm being too
Jesus
literal.
Christ.
So, Bear, I have to ask you a question. Since you're up in
Oh,
Canada, you might have heard of this or not.
Okay.
Somebody said that Kerry's government is now proposing that all cars that were not built since 2000 on, they are going to banish them from the roadways up in Canada.
No, and it's not Kerry, it's Carney.
Carney.
Drew
Wow.
Carey, Prime Minister of Canada.
that would be
No.
good. Drew Carey's awesome. I love Drew Carey. If we're
So
talking
that's
the
not
same
true.
Drew Carey,
Like,
I'm talking
the
about
year
the one that
2000
had the Drew
car
Carey
thing?
show.
I have never heard one word other than bullshit conspiracy American woo-woo cuckoo nuts about Carney banning cars.
I haven't
All
heard
like
anything.
Facebook shit, you know. Do you support Mark Carney's plan to ban gas and hybrid vehicles? That. Oh my God, you can't do that in Canada. It's it'd be impossible. So here's how
Yeah,
it
think
works.
about all the
The
ice road
federal government would say, we're going to ban all gas and hybrid cars from the roads in Canada. And all the provinces would turn around and go fuck yourself. You don't make laws over our provinces. We're letting them stay here. Fuck you. And it'd be the end of the conversation. Actually, our states' rights are stronger than your states' rights.
Well, it sounds like if your provinces can just be like, we're leaving.
Yeah.
Oh,
Our
okay.
states can't do that. We've already figured that out. You know, the theme skip. No, but somebody just brought it up, Lee. The theme was I was talking about our Old School Essentials game last night, and then, as always happens, the train of thought took a lot of different diversions, and we ended up with, you know, Raven is an awesome person, and we agree and disagree on some things, but my favorite thing is agreeing with Raven against Bear when Bear's being overly logical. Even though Bear might be right, it's still fun to be like, but the woo-woo could be real. Maybe not, though. Maybe not. It's like those guys that argue that Lovecraft wasn't a horror writer, he was a prophet, because everything he wrote came to him in dreams from the actual great old ones, which do exist. I'm like, I don't think that's true, but that's what Venger Satanus told me once, like years and years ago. when I was like, do you really believe Cthulhu's real? And he's like, well, see, of course, I don't know if he believes that anymore. And I love the guy. And he did invite me to come up to his house, and he'd throw a pork butt on the smoker, and we could just hang out, which is weird since I'm super like, Christian, and he's
It's not happening, Vic. Vic,
I don't know.
it's not happening.
Well, that's what it said.
Yeah, where? Was that CBC News, CTV News, Global, the New York Post, the Washington Post, the Guardian? Where's this from? What is the source? This is like, I keep trying to teach Raven this too. What is your source? Is your source credible? Or is your source trying to sell a book?
Mother said hello, and she loves you almost as much as she loves me. I know that's a lie.
Wow.
She loves me more. Well, no, she might love him more because he needs more love because he's retarded.
I like 5-room dungeons, George. I think 5-room dungeons are the fucking best, man.
For like, even though I'm running an old TSR adventure, I do keep I don't have one I can show you, but they're just blank covered with graph paper that I got a pack of 50 of. And I will just do up like 5 or 6 room dungeons, like maybe 5 of them, just to have encounters.
Nice.
Because if the characters are traveling across the wilderness and you want to throw something at them real quick, say you catch one of the players looking at his watch, well, then it's time, obviously, to jump them with something because, that's how you do. You got to keep them involved, right? Luckily, the players have been super involved, like I said, to the point that we've had to I've looked at the time and been like, oh, shit. We went a half hour past when we said, and a bunch of my players are got to get up at like 6 a.m. And one of them's got to be up at 6 a.m.
What is the source you're getting this from?
So
It said it says right there.
No. Who is telling you this? Are you on the Government of Canada's webpage, or is this some asshole telling you the Government of Canada said this?
I use Grok to download it.
Grok. Jesus Christ, people.
Yeah, the 5 rooms are great. One of the best dungeons to keep on the Borderlands is that little 5 or 6 room where there's like a ooze in a pond, and there's like an owlbear in there, and like some undead somewhere, and it's just a little cave complex. And if you're traveling through mountains or hills, I mean, from my experience growing up in mountains and hills, there's caves everywhere. And you don't know what, I mean, in a fantasy world, you have to kind of assume, since there's so many creatures existing in addition to what already exists.
So this is all coming from one fucking MP named Ray Williams, who is the MP, the Minister of Parliament, the Member of Parliament for the Quinte region of Ontario, where I went to college. Okay, the Quinte region has a river that runs through it called the Moira. The Moira. Let's see what this fucking chemical is. We'll just call it Jamesite. Okay, the safe count for Jamesite is 5 parts per 100. After that, it's getting sketchy. The Moira's got like 1,500 pound count per pile. It's insane. I literally was referred to this college town as living in chapter 4 of a Stephen King novel. You've met all these creepy people, something weird's going on, and if you just got to chapter 5, bodies would start piling up, but you're stuck in chapter 4 forever. And a buddy of mine told me he's from there. He's like, yep, that's exactly what my hometown's like. I'm like, this guy's fucking an idiot.
Yeah, Daryl, you don't, one thing is you don't have to have a big bad guy in every dungeon complex. Sometimes
if you do, that's when they're a polymorph dragon.
A bandit or something, a group of bandits or something. But anyway, the only news I've heard from Canada is that Carney is talking to Trump, and they're probably going to work the tariff situation out, and it's going to be fine.
The regulations will be phased in over the next 12 years. New light-duty gasoline or diesel-fueled vehicles will still be available after 2026 in Canada. Gasoline and diesel-fueled vehicles can still be driven after 2035.
Now and
used vehicles.
We got canals down here in Miami, which I'm not in Miami, but the last time they dredged the canals, they found like so many rifles and pistols. It's like the canals are just like a whole gun store underneath where, because somebody's like, oh, well, I got to get rid of this Glock. What do I do? Whee into the canal.
Oh yeah. You see that all the time on
and-
those magnet fishing guys. They're throwing their magnets over and they're pulling up guns, and I'm like, well, if you knew how to restore them, you could have some nice
Well,
gun in
legally,
Florida?
in Florida, you have to call the cops.
Yeah, I saw a video of a guy getting arrested for that in Florida.
If you pull a firearm up, you immediately call the police and they have to come and take it. Not because you can't own it, but because they have to do all the research to see if it was used in a crime.
Oh,
Because why else would a 38 special be laying at the bottom of a canal somewhere? I mean, that's generally not where you
but
store your
will they
rifle.
return that gun to you if it's not been used in a crime?
Will they? If you probably sued, like you put in the right paperwork, they might.
No.
Like one time, my uncle had a Harley stolen, and the people who stole it, they filed the serial numbers off, but then they got caught. And they didn't want to give him the Harley back because it didn't have serial numbers anymore. So he had to fill up a bunch of paperwork and do a bunch of bullshit. And then they eventually did give him the Harley back.
So in
Which
this
is good.
scenario,
Like a 70
the
something
gun
man.
hasn't been used in any crimes and they give it back to you. And that's how you wound up in the story of the haunted 38.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they ever would. I mean, in reality, I don't think you're ever getting that rifle or pistol back.
No.
Whether they find it was used in anything or not. The assumption is it's at the bottom of a canal. So some shady shit went on right there. I know all of us in Florida, we like to joke that I don't own guns anymore. I was fishing and they all fell off the boat. Right? We all joke about that, how none of us actually own any guns because they all fell into the lake. But in reality, if you find a gun in a canal, I wouldn't mess with it. I wouldn't touch it for sure. If I pulled that thing up, I wouldn't put my hands anywhere on it because last thing you need is put a thumbprint on that bitch and then the cops come and get it and link it to like 5 shootings somewhere. And the next thing they're like, well, there is a thumbprint on it. It's this idiot over here. Now you're in prison getting covered up with broken crosses and shit and joining the Aryan Brotherhood because, that's the only way to save your backside. And that's not good. Nobody wants that. And if they do, they're crazy.
We're at the age now that if we go to prison, no one wants us in their gang.
I don't know. The old grizzly bastards tend to be the scariest.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Nobody wants to
On a
bring
life
in fresh old grizzly bastards to their gangs. Like, oh, look who just arrived here. What did he do? I don't fucking know, but he's like 50. Fuck him. Forget him. He doesn't exist. Look, new fish. Ooh, come on.
I think like you go in and they're all like, this guy's got a life sentence. He's 55. He don't give a shit. That makes him the most dangerous dude on the yard.
I doubt it.
Got nothing to lose. Give him a shank. It don't matter how big you are if somebody sticks a shank in your neck.
That's true.
You were a bodyguard. The neck, only a couple pounds of pressure. You know what I mean? You put somebody on their ass. So you got a guy with a life sentence. He knows he ain't going anywhere ever. It's like, that's not the guy to F with. But
Maybe he just wants to read books in the library,
They made canals murky. Well, down here, Lee, I can tell you it's because we have a lot of cypress stumps and shit like that. And the actual rotting peat, which I know you're English, so you know what peat is, just stains the water. We've got a lake we used to swim in that the water is so brown reddish colored that if you wear white and you swim in this lake, when you get out, your white clothes will be that weird reddish brown color because of all the peat, all the rotten vegetation. Because people forget that Florida is subtropical or tropical. We are the jungle. Welcome to the jungle, baby. You're going to die. Also, as I like to remind people, the only place on planet Earth where alligators and crocodiles coexist. So,
if alligators and crocodiles get along, why can't the rest of us just coexist, man?
yeah. I don't know how that works, but I do know that crocodiles are innately aggressive, Whereas alligators don't start getting aggressive till they get about 12 feet. Once they hit about 12 feet, then you better keep an eye on those bastards because, they're getting to that point where the average catfish or turtle ain't doing it anymore. They need some bigger meat. So
they start.
I got a shit ton of guns. Come and get them.
Australian salties go up and grab the cows by the jaw and drag them in, and
like in that Lake Placid.
Oh my God! See the look on that bear's face.
Yeah.
I love that movie, man.
Yeah,
so good. I've used a line from that movie so many times when I was a teacher. When some student would look at me and go, "How do you know all this stuff?" And I go, "They hide this information in books."
Yeah, they had yeah. I used to swim in Florida lakes. Oh yeah, shit tons of snakes. That's true. You go fishing at night for catfish down here, and there's probably a 1 in 100 time you'll reel something in and it's a cottonmouth or a water moccasin. And water moccasins are aggressive. So unlike every other poison snake in Florida that wants to be left alone and will leave if you just let them leave, a moccasin will chase you because they no F's given. And they get about 3 feet. I've seen them about 3 feet, and they're fat as hell. They're like a giant black. The good news is their venom isn't super deadly. So if you get a hit and you get to the hospital, you'd probably be all right. But, it's not like a rattlesnake. If a rattlesnake bites you, their venom will actually necrotize all the flesh around the bite, and they have to cut it off. So you'll end up with a big, Yeah, faced one off once. Those things, man. I've had to smack them with fishing rods and run from them. I mean, they're little bastards, man.
Only deadly one I've done is a rattlesnake with a 5-iron right behind the back of the head. Dead.
Yeah. See, in Kentucky, we have copperheads, which they're not too bad except when they mate, because when they mate, they congregate in the hundreds. And if you fall into that, you're done.
Take seed from Colombia and Mexico.
Thunder, yeah. Copperhead Road.
Copperhead Road.
Yeah. And then
my name's John Lee Pettimore.
Same as my father and his father. We got pine rattlers. They don't get too big. But in Florida, we have the eastern diamondback, which can get 7-8 feet very easily. And about as big around as a person's calf, My uncle actually caught one. It was about 6.5, 7 feet long, about yay big around. He got it taxidermized, and then we ate it too. Because snake, if you fillet it off of the bones and you cut it into little chunks and fry it, I mean, it's like eating chicken nuggets, really. A little chewier, a little bit more cartilage, but yeah.
Yeah, I've had boa and I've had gator.
I had rattlesnake. It was no big deal. I just I
like the gator. I didn't care for the boa.
Bull snakes will kill them. Down here, the snake we got that'll kill all the poisonous snakes is called the indigo.
Yeah, I read an article about Florida. They're starting to breed those. There's a place down there. One of the Florida colleges has got a breeding program, and they purposely breed the indigos to release them at 100 at a time in these parks to go eating other snakes and stuff. So.
Yeah, they almost went extinct, so I'm glad they're bringing them back. But an indigo snake just looks like a shiny, fat, black snake, but they get 6-7 feet long. Mm-hmm. They get huge. But they are completely non-venomous, non-aggressive. Like you side-eye them and they run. They don't want anything to do with you.
Except for when it comes to other snakes. Then they're
other snakes, yeah, they're going after other snakes.
I'm really happy I live in a place that doesn't have poisonous animals.
Sock removal, yeah. Gator legs are delicious. See, I didn't like gator. I tried it because everybody has to. I didn't care for it, but some people do love it. 6-foot bull snake.
That's some pure Alabama black snake.
But it ain't too damn buku.
Ain't too damn boo coo.
Yeah, I love that movie. The dead know only one thing: it is better to be alive. That guy. But anyway, Joker, Private Joker.
Why are you not stomping Private Pyle's guts?
Yeah, not the right move to make for him in that particular situation. And it's hard to believe that actor,
Vincent D'Onofrio.
yeah, D'Onofrio. I mean, that dude was like, he played crazy really well.
D'Onofrio is a really, really good actor. Like, he's really good. I had a friend who worked with him and said he's kind of like, one of those actors where he's really into his shit and his craft, and he said De Niro was the same way. You don't talk to them while you're working with them unless it's like, can you stand here? Can you hold this type of thing? They're not sociable.
Well, I mean, they don't know who they are. They've spent so many years pretending to be other people. They
I don't
probably
buy that.
forgot who they were.
I don't buy that. I think they're just crazy. And they channeled their crazy into something that makes them a lot of money without hurting.
We have, talking of snakes, corn snakes or rat snakes, we call them down here. And they're just orange, like patterned snakes, not poisonous. You can just run up and grab one up out of the ground. We got grass snakes, common green water snake. I mean, we have tons of non-venomous snakes, and I've kept them for pets, but then I let it go because I was too soft-hearted to feed it actual mice.
Oh.
Because I'm like, nah. So I let the snake go and I kept the mice.
I saw that one video years and years and years ago on the internet of the mouse being dropped in to feed the snapping turtle, and the turtle snaps it in half, and the top half of the mouse just keeps swimming all the way up, doesn't even realize it's dead yet. Like, Jesus Christ, that's dark.
Yeah, that is dark. I'm not doing that. Like, I've raised Oscars before, and I had an Oscar once that I imaginatively named Oscar.
What's an
and
Oscar?
He probably got about 8 inches long. I mean,
What's an Oscar?
This fish was like that big, at least,
Fish.
right? But I just fed him shrimp, and I don't mean like live shrimp. I just go buy the small frozen shrimp. And when I wanted to feed him, I just lay some out for a little bit, thaw out, and just drop them in. He'd eat them.
And
but
you
this
get frozen.
fish was so big, when he pooped, it looked like an actual cat poop on the bottom of the aquarium. You'd have to scoop it. I mean,
you can get frozen mice for your snakes and stuff like that. You don't have to feed them live.
I don't know. I think I'm weird because I got no problem shooting a pig or a deer or something, especially if I'm going to eat it. But I don't know. Killing something just for like just because you want to own a snake. I mean, I've kind of got to the point where I don't think people should own snakes or even parrots or anything.
People who own snakes and reptiles, there's something wrong with those people. I'm just saying.
Maybe.
If that's what you're into, it's either A, you're doing it for shock value, you want people to think you're a badass.
Which is what I think.
A ball python. Or you're a fucking sociopath. And this animal that has no emotional attachment to you is the best pet you could have because there's no emotions involved.
Yeah, we got a lot of turtles down here that are cool. And we've got our chameleons, which are cool. And every now and then I see a gecko running around on the outside of my house at night. We've got these little geckos that get about that big.
Oh, I love those little geckos. They eat up all those little bugs and stuff. It's like all the gnats are gone. My stepmom.
You want to get rid of gnats and fucking mosquitoes? Plant stuff that attracts dragonflies.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
dragonflies. The amount of mosquitoes dragonflies eat is insane.
So they got adders in England. I didn't know. Oh, Blackadder, he's probably talking about.
Blackadder. I swear, Baldric, if the prince insults you one more time, I'll
Doesn't the Bible command us to pick up snakes? I don't know about that. I know there are people that do tent revivals in parts of Kentucky that like to dance around with copperheads and shit, but I ain't part of any of that. But You know, the Yemen chameleon and leopard gecko. Our little geckos, they look just like the Geico gecko, but they get about yay big. And they just run around all over. They can climb anything. Like they'll go right up a mirror. I mean, it's crazy, but I used to, and my mother used to own parrots. And at a point, I came to the conclusion that no one needs a parrot. There's no reason to own an exotic bird. If you want to have a bird for a pet, go get a hen, like just a little barn hen, generic chicken hen. It will be the best pet you ever owned if you want to have a bird for a pet. I mean, it'll follow you around. It'll lay eggs, maybe. I mean, it'll poop all over the place because it's a dumbass bird like every other bird, but it'll cuddle you. Nothing will ever love you as much as a hen. And I know that from growing up on a farm, you know. The hens, they'll get real attached. And they'll follow you all over the place, just like a dog.
Yeah. My favorite
First animal I want for a
chameleon
pet is a cat. I love cats. I was a cat person my whole life, and then I met my wife, and I become a dog person. But the compromise is we got Pomeranians, and they're just dogs that are pretending to be cats, or reverse that. Either way, because Pomeranians are like, they say that they're dogs for cat people. I don't know. Yeah, hens are amazing little animals, and they're actually useful. And unlike a umbrella cockatoo, which we owned, they will not scream so loud that the neighbors half a mile down the street hate you. Because an umbrella cockatoo will destroy everything it can get its beak on and will scream so loud that your ears will hurt. And also, they will outlive you. So if you're 40 years old and you buy a 3-year-old umbrella cockatoo, yeah, you'll die. That thing will be middle-aged because they live about 100 years.
Yeah, it ain't gonna outlive me, man.
Because you're going to kill it when it screams like that. Yeah.
At 3 a.m, I can just see myself going, oops. I guess I'll go back to bed and worry about this in the morning.
North of England. Yeah, I bet. Got to have some really good heat rocks.
Well,
Yeah.
my favorite chameleon is the karma chameleon.
Karma.
They
Yeah.
come and go, though. That's the problem. They come and go.
Boy George. Who didn't love Boy George? Everybody loved Boy George.
I
And
hated
again,
George.
And again, I go back to the point of how in the 80s, we didn't give a fuck if you were gay or you were trans. It didn't matter to us. The point is that we just went, okay, and moved on with our fucking lives. You know what I mean?
You know,
Boy George. Perfect.
you know, I thought about
Those
this.
guys
though,
were
man.
going, fuck, she's kind of hot. And then we were like, it's a dude. Huh. Fuck, creepy. Oh, okay, whatever. Sounds cool. You know, like that was it. That was the extent of it. There was no
I remember I
bang
was out
boy
with some of
George
my-
parties. What?
I was out with some of my boys. We were riding down the street, and there was this person walking down the street, and one of my friends was like, "Ooh, what's up, beautiful?" And the person turned around as a dude. He just had really long blonde hair. And we were all like, yeah. I mean, but we were like 17-year-old idiots. But I found out the reason, though. I solved that problem, Bear. In the 80s, the people who did that didn't put it in your face nonstop and call you horrible. They dressed however they wanted and did whatever they wanted and kept it to, they just did their thing and we did our thing and it was awesome. No one cared.
Amazing. The whatever generation. There's something great about us.
Yeah, we were like, you do you. I mean, I don't agree, but I'm gonna, I feel about that same way I feel about 5e D&D. It's like, it's kind of gay, but do you, man? I don't care. I'm going to do my thing.
Well, you enjoy reading my game then because it's based on 5e.
Yeah, but 5e is based on 3, which was based on 2e. So
Actually, 5e is based on 4e. It's more 4 than anything else.
there is some 4 in there, but I've said this many times, and some people disagree. 4.5 Essentials was good. The problem is 4th edition caused people to hate 4th edition so much. Oh, I see them right there. The cream colored, yeah. But 4 or 5 was actually really good, and people didn't give it a chance because they already hated 4. But
I
you had
prefer
like Heroes
full
of the Fallen Lands, Heroes of the Forgotten Empire.
Yeah, yeah.
It was good. Plus, James Wyatt was doing all the writing, the lore, and James Wyatt is a great writer. But then Wizards of the Coast moved him from D&D to Magic, which is stupid.
But I don't hate 4E. I don't hate 3E. I don't hate 5E. I don't hate 2E. I don't hate 1E. I don't hate a fucking role playing game unless it's called Shadowrun, and then I fucking hate it.
I don't hate anything except my first ex-wife for very personal reasons, but I love
Which
Shadowrun,
person.
which are personal. Exactly. But I like Shadowrun. I really, though, wish they would just simplify it.
Please stop talking about my silky pussy quickly.
I've seen Bear Silky Cat and James Fluffy Doggo. Yeah, I got my Fluffy Doggo. He's in there with the wife right now, though. We were watching, actually, before I started this live stream, we were watching the Ricky Gervais show, and they were interviewing Carl Pilkington on
Oh God, what they do with Carl this time?
He was talking about ripping all the tiles off of his kitchen wall because he just didn't care for it, and how his girlfriend breaks everything in the house, so he feels like he's like the handyman in her house, just constantly following her around fixing shit. Because but I mean, the guy's a millionaire. It's not like he's got work. I mean, I'm sure he's made a lot of money on all the different shows he's been on.
I love the shows where they just send him to weird places.
Idiot Abroad,
Yeah.
And yeah. The end of the very last series of Idiot Abroad, they're interviewing, and he said that Ricky and Steven can say whatever they want about me, but I got to go to all these awesome places and they paid for it. So who's the real idiot?
Yeah.
So it was like Carl got his got his comeback on him. He's like, they sent me to all these places for free. So who's the idiot? Like when they sent him to India and there was that conjoined twin there, and like Carl actually sat next to her and was talking to her and stuff. Because he's, Carl's obsessed with weird, people that 100 years ago would have been called circus freaks. That's like Carl's favorite thing in the world. I don't hate any game unless it's involving genuine hate. Yeah, I don't hate any game. I knock on 5e just because for some reason people who love 5e get like Milton about, so I'm just instigating them. Not Bear, but you know the people I'm talking about that get like, oh, how dare you talk about my favorite game? It's like, really?
I can't say I hate 5e. I mean, I'm gonna say this. I can't say I hate 5e because I've never played it. But the first time anybody said, "Well, you could be a dwarven dragon," that isn't Dungeons and Dragons that I grew up with. What I'm saying? So
no, we don't know what you're saying because you broke up for most of that.
Legion of Myth said it best. If you're going to run 5e, you got to be able to say no.
Yes.
Because everything in that book, when I ran 5e for a year and a half, I didn't use any optional rules. So there were no skills. There were no feats. There was none of this bullshit. We played just basic 3 books, 5e, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it might not be my favorite version of the game, but it's not terrible. Yeah, I think it's still Carl, but then again, I'm sure there's like at least 100 Carls in every state in America and every province in Canada. Just some guy that don't want to be bothered, and he's just kind of, hanging out doing DIY and eating beans on toast. Yeah, I'm sure that guy exists somewhere around here with a perfectly round head like an orange. But Carl's from Manchester. That's why they call him a mank twat all the time. Because I guess he's from Manchester.
I look at Bear's Cat, and somebody said here's something about Bear's Cat. I think Bear's Cat is familiar.
Well, he's got 2 of them.
I thought he only had 1.
No, there's 2 of them in there. They just
they're
look
brothers, so they're both black cats.
And one of them is long hair, and the other one's short hair. And the long hair one's actually the biggest of the two.
Oh, I've never
I
seen
think
that one.
Bear's
All
cat
I've
is
seen is
bigger
the
than
short
my
hair one.
dog.
So was that reprobate?
I said, oh, I've only seen one of them.
Misty is very rare that Misty will be on camera. Misty is my gender fluid, non-binary trans cat.
You've
I'm
probably
serious.
seen both of them and just didn't know.
No, because Misty looks completely differently than Beans. Here's why. When I got the two cats, they're brothers. I'm like, great, I got two little boys. This is awesome. I why my friend talking to taking two, but here we are, I've got two cats. I take them to their first vet checkup. Said to the vet, which one do you want first? She goes, oh, give me the pretty one, which at the time was named Shadow. I went, okay, here you go. Oh, no, Spooky. You're Spooky. Here you go. And she starts checking. She goes, you said they're boys. Yeah, well, this is a girl. There's no testicles here. This is a girl. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Why? I didn't want a female cat. Fuck. Okay, fine. I guess your name is not Spooky anymore. We'll call you Misty because of your missing testicles. Then I take them back 3 months later for their next checkup, and it's a different vet. And she's like, so we got a boy and a girl. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, I got bad news for you. You got two boys. I'm like, we did have two boys. She goes, look here, the testicles. There's the scrotum. And I'm like, holy fuck, was this cat playing games with me? So my cat went from being non-binary to gender fluid. Wait, it gets better. I take them when they're old enough to get fixed. I drop them off. It's this one day they do this clinic at this one vet. They charge you $50 for a male and $80 for a female. And you go back and you pick up your cats later. It's a great fucking deal. You do it one day a month. Great. Saves people money and helps spay or neuter your pets. I come back in. I said, how'd it go? Oh, Beans is fine. Misty, though, we need to charge you another $30 plus tax. Why? Well, because his testicles never dropped. So we had to open them up like a female and go in and get them and take them out. So that was extra surgery. And I'm like, holy fuck. Gender fluid, non-binary trans cat. What the fuck? Point that in my life. But there it is.
But it is a commonly well-known fact, though, that with cats, and yes, Bear's cat is a moose of a cat. That when they're kittens, it is incredibly difficult to tell whether they're boys or girls.
If they're long hair, if they're short hair, it's real easy.
Yeah. Whereas boys, because they got this thing hanging out on their stomach, like, hey, check this out. I mean, they're, like with a dog, there's no question. It's got a wang there. You can see it. It's right there in the breeze. It's a boy. But yeah, I did mean that though, Lee. I think Bear's cat probably outweighs my dog.
Beans is big. Fucking Misty is huge.
Bilateral cryptorchid. That is wow.
What's the weight of the big cat?
I don't know
What's the
cats.
weight of the big cat?
You think I can put them on a scale? Do you have cats?
Sure, why not?
No. So the best. Okay, so because Misty's long hair, Misty's long hair and it's so humid here, in the summer he gets these weird knots in his fur and I have to wrestle him to try and get my clippers out and get them out. So I'm at the team meeting at work one day and I said, hey, has anybody got any lead on a good cat grooming place? And my boss, she's like, well, why do you need that? I said, well, my one of my boys, he gets bad fur and I got to take him in and get him groomed and get him all shaved up so that way he doesn't go through the summer like hell. And she goes, well, why don't you just do it yourself? To which before I could say anything, one of my other coworkers just goes, clearly, Natalie, you've never tried to shave a cat. He just says that blankly, like, fuck, It's like, exactly. Plus mine are so big. Holy fuck, dude. It'd be like a wrestling war, Like, just no. No, I'll just go pay $50 to some nice ladies to do it for me. Thank you. Here, shave my pussy. Thank you. Like,
oh my goodness. Bear's looking for somebody to give his cat a Brazilian.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was going to get him the lion cut, where they shave the body, but they leave the mane and the poofs on the feet, and the tail gets a little the end of it.
Young Pip is going on 5 pounds. Nice. Mine is 16.
Yeah, I got to say, Misty, I'm judging 15, maybe 18 pounds of cat there.
Yeah. Now, my nephew got one of those Maine Coons. His cat is like 30 pounds.
Yeah, those things are huge.
That thing is just, it's a orange stripe. It's got a weird face because like its snout sticks out further than you would think a cat's snout should.
Yeah.
And it's hairy as hell. It's just a moose of a cat. It's just huge.
It's like Norwegian forest cats. They're the same way too.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to have one, but I would hate to have to clean a litter box after it.
Well, as my mother once said, if you live far enough into the country, you don't need a litter box. You just need a door.
Right.
Cat
Right.
will find its own place to poop outside.
Right. Unfortunately, that's not how it is for me. But
Yeah, no, I agree. And plus indoor cats live a lot longer.
yeah, well, for me, it's just the size of the situation. If you got a little cat, I mean, it's okay. You go in, you scoop it up once a day, you throw it away. It's all fun. You got 40-pound cat. That's an issue. That's like cleaning up after a human. like a child went in and took a dump in a litter box. So I don't want to be involved with any of that. 15 pounds. Yeah.
Props to you if you can litter train your children though.
My orange cat is solid 18.5. Jeez. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna, I know next week is Mother's Day, but we've already decided we're going game. Which is weird because I thought last month was Mother's Day and I already gave my wife her Mother's Day present. Which now I understand why she's like, why are you giving me Mother's Day presents? Because I was literally a full month ahead on that. But
hey, James, better to be early than late on that one.
Sometimes.
Oh, no.
The best way to weigh a cat is to weigh yourself, write down the weight, then hold the cat and weigh yourself again, and then do some basic math.
That's the way I
And if
did
the
it.
cat likes being held, it's going to be awesome. Or you're going to get clawed the F out while you're trying to fight a cat and stand on a scale. But that's how we weigh when the dog needs to be weighed at our vet. The vet just says, pick your dog up, stand on it, and they do the basic math because Sneakers was toilet trained. Rest in peace, man. Yeah, some dogs and cats are just naturally tremendously intelligent. But
I do not have one of those currently.
Hungar, who I think he might have went to bed because he goes to bed pretty early. He had bad news in the D&D game because his small dog that he carried with him was with him when the blue dragon hit him with the lightning bolt and did not make the save. So the tiny but vicious dog got roasted. He was like, well, that sucks. Sorry, man. Plus, all 8 of the adventurers had just bought mountain ponies to ride up that trail. And all of them got caught on the trail in single file by the lightning bolt, which hit them and their ponies and just roasted the ponies. Because the ponies were 1+ whatever hit die or whatever. So even if they'd made the save, they were dead. Due to the damage I rolled. So yeah, they instantly lost 8 horses, a dog, but the gnome illusionists, giant weasel managed to get out of the way.
Don't let the perspective fool you. The one in the back's the bigger one. That's Misty. That's me.
Oh, look at them. They're adorable. They're very cute.
Yeah. They're also very
like
timid and
cats.
scared of other people.
I like cats. I can't have cats just because the wife likes our house to smell like pina coladas and not litter boxes. And, that's basically.
And you're in Florida, so you don't have a basement, right?
No basement. Yeah. No, we couldn't even put their litter box in the garage because the garage isn't air conditioned. And so if we were to put like a cat door in the door, then, we'd be effed with the AC bill. So Whereas our dog, we can just walk him out in the yard and he'll run in circles until he wants to pass out and then pee on something, and and he's good. He's like, whatever. Yeah, Bear has some really cool cats occasionally.
Occasionally.
They'll run up and love on him and stuff. They're really nice, but
Beans is the only one that wants attention all the time, though. He's like the attentive one. Misty doesn't really want attention unless he's hungry or he's in a weird mood. But when I go to bed, no joke, as soon as I walk into my bedroom, he's up on the bed, he's on his back, he's got his legs open, he's purring his head off like, it's bedtime. I love this. My favorite part of the day. It's like, it's so weird. But he doesn't get to sleep in my room because Beans thinks 4 a.m. is a perfectly reasonable wake up time. So
when I babysat or cat sat or whatever we want to call it, my
All right, gentlemen,
nephews.
gotta go. Have a good one.
Catch you later, bro. I babysat my nephew's Persian cat, and that cat, you wouldn't see it all day hardly.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a fire somewhere. It's not in our house, is it? I don't see smoke. Don't smell smoke.
Well, if it is in our house, you're a terrible fireman.
I would agree.
If it's in our house, it's your fault and you're a bad
Well,
fireman.
that you open the door, now I smell the wood smoke, but that's wood smoke. That's not house smoke. Yeah, it just yeah. There could be a house fire going on somewhere. I mean, it does happen every now and then. How you doing, Doc?
Or I wonder if the lightning struck somewhere in the woods.
Well, I told you, every time we had a lightning storm when I was on the job, you always got calls to check if somebody's attic was burning or something. Because that'll happen. The lightning will hit somebody's house and it'll literally light the insulation into a smoldering fire on the inside of the attic. And then we'll have to show up and throw an attic ladder down and climb up and
throw up a link.
And put that out. I mean, it does happen. We had a really bad lightning storm on one shift, and we caught like 10 or so different fire calls, and about half of them were actual fires, but they were all smoldering in the attic where the lightning had hit. So not a big deal. You go in, you throw a tarp over all of the furniture, like a big ass rubberized tarp, and then you put the fire out. Because, I mean, the number one duty of the firefighter is to save lives and protect property. So you can't just run in and start destroying somebody's house. You got to protect all their possessions before you. Did you make the players save versus lightning for their equipment? I don't think I did. I don't think I went that hardcore with it. Now I did make a player save versus fire when they got hit with a fireball and their clothing did catch on fire and they had to, put it out. But the lightning, I think in like AD&D first edition, there was a rule where if you were wearing metal armor, you took like extra damage or some shit from lightning attacks. But I'm running OSE, so it's more like BX than AD&D. It's like somebody took Moldvay Cook and then they said, hey, let's make it where class and race are two different things and you can play whatever you want. And hurt your back. I'm sorry, Doc. Hope you feel better. I know that sucks. So yeah, rules wise, it's basic and expert Moldvay Cook D&D, except you can play a dwarf cleric. Apostrophe with GM approval or DM approval. Because that's one thing when it says a dwarf can be a fighter, a thief, an assassin, cleric, and I think that might be it. And then next to the cleric, it's like, but only if the DM allows you to be a cleric. Whereas the human can be anything. And Gnomes can be fighters, thieves, illusionists, assassins, and their best class for leveling is actually, if you use level caps, illusionist, because they cap out at like level 4 as fighters or some shit. So, but I don't use level caps. Instead, I use where demi-humans can level up to level 14, but humans get the +1 charisma, +1 con, +1 to loyalty checks, and you roll 2 hit die every time you level and pick the best one. And that's why I said my wife's cleric has more hit points than the dwarf fighter, because, she's a human and he's a dwarf. So just the averages, if you're rolling the 2 die, whatever, every time you level up, the odds of getting a 6 on one of those 2 dice is way better than a 6 on 1 die. Right? So she's got a lot of hit points. That game, Doc, might be Adventure Conqueror King. In Adventure Conqueror King, its race is class, but every race has like 6 classes, and they're all different. And some of them are only available to specific. Well, no, they're all only available to their specific race. So there is no dwarf fighter. There's a dwarf vault guard, which operates somewhat different than the human fighter. And then there's the dwarf. I forget what's called, but it's an artificer from like 4 or 5e. It's a dwarf that can build steam-powered golems and shit like that. And then the elves, every one of the elf classes except for one is basically a mage hybrid of something. So like the Nightblade is a mage assassin, and the spell sword is like a mage fighter, and the elves, and they even have one, the Hierophant, that's a mage cleric. So you're an elf Hierophant, you get mage and cleric spells. The only class that only an elf can play that doesn't get magic is the Ranger. They get no magic, but they get an automatic like bonus to hit with bows. They can speak to wilderness animals and birds, and they're good at stealthing in the woods and all that shit. So basically Legolas. And then the gnome can only have one class called a trickster, and it's an illusionist thief. That's all. But gnomes are very, very rare. So, and they tend to live with the dwarves. The dwarves kind of look out for their smaller kin. But that's Adventure Conqueror King. It's cool. I love it. Actually, I own all the first edition stuff, and it's one of my favorite settings. The Arran Empire is. But then again, Macris just took the era when Eastern Rome was close to collapse and turned it into fantasy. And then he took like the Black Sea and he flipped it upside down so that the northern part of the Black Sea is on the south, and and then that's kind of, if you look at the map, you can tell what he did. He flipped the Mediterranean, and he, like the main god in the empire, Sol Invictus or something like that, the sun god. And your list to get,
Expensive.
Macris does a great job with domain play, and the only thing I will tell you though is it's not a medieval Renaissance type role-playing game. It is Rome, specifically like maybe 9th century Eastern Empire Rome. That's what it is. Even like the human fighters titles are Roman or Greek. Like you can become a legatus, you can become a whatever, like all of those Roman titles, you can be that.
I have to become someone who is leaving right now, sadly.
That's okay. That's
I
okay.
just wanted to let you know. Thanks for letting me hang out. It was fun.
Hey, anytime, Bear. You know that.
And I look forward to your feelings about my 5e hack.
Hey, roll die 20 versus number is good.
Pretty much the way
works.
the game is
So,
played, right?
you know what I mean?
Peace,
Yeah,
love, geek.
See it. Well, that was cool hanging out with the bear. Got poor Doc. We did not have to take lightning checks. No, you did not. I don't know that they do that in OSE, but in AD&D First Edition, if you got hit by fire or lightning or any shit like that, you were taking checks for your armor and your clothes, any potions you had on you, like your hat, whatever. And you could end up, the good news is most of the time magical items don't just get destroyed like that. But there are some that actually destroy magic weapons and armor. So yeah, it can happen, but I'm at the point in my life where I'm digging the lower level of complexity. When I was in my younger years, AD&D, yeah, third edition, yeah, I didn't mind the complexity as much. Yeah, exactly, BRC. Which BRC was kind of the lifesaver last week. His ranger actually was leading the way next to the fighter, and because they had a ranger in the front rank or whatever it was, however it was, they were able to spot. One thing about this dungeon is there's a lot of encounters where the monsters are waiting to ambush you, and the only way not to get ambushed is to roll really well or have a ranger in the front of the group. And so BRC's human ranger has really been pulling his weight. So that's been good. My favorite casual role-playing game is OSE because I started with Moldvay Cook D&D, so it's always going to have a special place in my heart. But if I were to pick my top 5 games to play, probably OSE, Adventure Conqueror King, Traveler, Mongoose Traveler, 2300 especially, but any Mongoose Traveler. Shadowrun 2nd Edition is my favorite. And then I'm really partial to Call of Cthulhu 7th Edition. So, like, if I were going to do like a 1 or 2, like a really short campaign, maybe, 3 or 4. My wild card game is Stars Without Number. I love Stars Without Number. Actually, I love anything by Kevin Crawford. I have all of the Without Number stuff, and I have most of the the additional source books for Stars Without Number. That guy is such a great game creator, just absolutely amazing guy. Another wild card game would be Twilight 2000. Either 2nd Edition or Free League, and probably the Free League version because I've got like a ton of. But man, there's so many great games. I love Dragonbane, the Free League Dragonbane game. That is a really good game, and it's just a really good game. Call it or no, Castles and Crusades, great game. Lee, I've said this before, a lot of people may not know this about me, but deep down in my heart, I'm a sci-fi guy, not a fantasy guy. But fantasy role-playing games are so much easier to run, and players tend to like them more for some reason. And it's this, I'm not the first person to say this. A lot of people have said this. It's like if you try to run Traveler 2300, which is, sci-fi in the near future, 300 years from now. Some players are going to ask you to explain how everything in the game actually works because it's science fiction, right? So if they have, a jump drive, they want to know, how's this jump drive actually work, But in a fantasy game, A wizard can cast a fireball, no one questions it. You know, there's a giant hexapedal lizard thing that can spit acid and fly around talking and shit. No one questions it. But in a sci-fi game, if they land and there's some kind of weird alien, the players are going to question, well, how could this thing even be? You know? So it's like, it's really weird, you know? And honestly, I think the first person who quoted that was Isaac Asimov. I think he's the guy who said, for some reason, believable science fiction is less believable to people than unbelievable fantasy. Because, yeah, no one questions how magic works. You can do anything with magic, and no one's going to ask you to draw a diagram up on how in the shit that works. It's just not going to be a thing. But try to run sci-fi, and they want to know how the lasers work and what color the light is, which is no color, generally speaking, and all of this shit. And so, yeah, I find it way easier to run fantasy because, like I keep saying, no one ever questions how shit works. You're right. You tell somebody that giant bronze bull's charging down a hillside at them, snorting steam and breathing fire and shit like that. They don't question it. They're like, oh shit, is that Gorgon? What is that? You know? So, yeah. Conversely, in Shadowrun, no one asks you how the technology actually works. Because Shadowrun's, I guess, the fantasy parts of Shadowrun cover the science part of Shadowrun. So it's like I've never had a player actually sit down and want me to explain how increased reflexes works. You know, I just read in the book and it says, well, they put some wiring in your nervous system that makes you, react really quick. And players will be like, oh, okay. You know, it's like, well, you know, I'm glad we could all agree on that. But this one, I had it out earlier because I was reading it. Definitely in the top 5. I love this game. I don't know that I could run a whole 1.5 year long campaign, but if I were going to run like a short adventure, you know, something that might take 2 to 6 weeks, yeah, this is the stuff right here. And technically, this is science fiction because a lot of people don't know this about Lovecraft, but all of his actual Lovecrafting monsters they're not fantastical. They're alien. They're from parts of the universe where our physics don't necessarily work the same way and shit like that. So, yeah, believe it or not, this is actually a science fiction game. This is not a fantasy game. This is science fiction. Yeah. I mean, and it's anything. Now you can get away with Star Wars because I've ran the Dice 6 version of Star Wars, and I ran that crazy shit that freaking Fantasy Flight put out with like all of the different colored dice with weird symbols on them. And in Star Wars, no one asks you how blaster works. It's like, because everyone's seen Star Wars. So when you say, okay, you need to do this and that so you can go to hyperdrive or whatever. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And people will just take it on what it is. But Traveler is a hard science game. If you hand wave the artificial gravity and the faster than light travel, otherwise it's hard science. And if anything that's anywhere in the neighborhood of hard science, you're going to have players wanting to know exactly how that shit works. And I'm just not that smart. Like, you know, I've read some theories on gravity. I'm a huge fan of Jungian philosophy, but yeah, I do not know how the atomic drive of a certain starship actually, I mean, fission somehow, but whatever. Well, okay. The Color Out of Space, though, was itself an alien. It was just an alien from somewhere in the universe where everything we know about matter and reality does not apply. And it dropped its egg down and it fell into the well. The thing in the well was a baby. And when that meteorite / egg cracked open, it did what it did until it drained enough life out of the surrounding area to shoot back up into wherever they come from, right? So, yeah, it was an alien creature. And we just have no idea how it works. But, yeah, there was nothing magical about that. There's no magic to that. Even the magic in Lovecraft is actually based on geometry and science and math and, you know, shit like that. It's not like what we think of a wizard studies an incantation, which no one cares about, makes some hand signs, says abracadabra or whatever, and some shit happens. In Lovecraft, magic is a science. So, you know, it's just, we think of it as magic, like Orwell or whoever said. Not Orwell, I think it was, anyway, to us, it might seem like magic, but in reality, it's just another kind of science that we don't understand. I mean, look at the Migo. They have a whole interstellar empire. They're made out of matter that is not necessarily anything like anything on our planet, to the point that you can't take a picture of them because their actual matter doesn't reflect light the way ours does. And they can fly through space on membranous wings. But on the other hand, they're also brilliant surgeons that can actually remove a human brain, insert it into a device, and then hook it up to a vocalizer and speakers and stuff like that, so that they can take the brain to another part of space and then, you know, question it and whatever, you know. It's pretty crazy. They also do surgery on themselves to make themselves better adapted to different environments. But yeah, that's the whole, you know, yeah. I agree. And I forget, one of the great writers in the past said something like, science, like any technological thing of a sufficient level, will appear to be magic to people who don't understand it. And it's like, okay, yeah. But I mean, Doc's not 100% wrong, though. Lovecraft does skirt the line. I would say that. Okay. I'm willing to soften my absolutist opinion and say that there are places where he skirts the line as far as, you know, what's going on here. Like when you get into the dreamlands and stuff like that, it's like, you know, what are we talking about? But there's a webpage or a YouTube channel I absolutely love called Divermus Mysterious. And it goes into like all kinds of crazy shit. Arthur C. Clarke. There you go. Oh, that's a game I haven't played in years that I own a lot of the books for, that I absolutely love, but I don't think you could play it too much these days because of the political climate. But Space 1889. I'm sure if I took that to a convention and wanted to run it, somebody would start yelling at me about how evil colonialism is and how dare you British or whatever, American, German, whatever people be, you know, oppressing those poor Venetians or Martians or whatever. But before people actually gave a shit about that sort of stuff, that was a great GDW game. And I have the combat game too, the Skyships and Ironclads or whatever, where you actually got the big hex map and you can fight battles out between the Martian sky galleons and the colonial ironclads. But at some point in our history, someone decided colonialism was a bad thing. And then a bunch of other idiots, and I'm not trying to be political here, I'm just stating my opinion, which I, of course, believe is 100% a fact. A bunch of idiots started believing that the first idiot was right. Yeah, it's an amazing game. You know, And you can be like the American guy, and it's like, you're 40 something years old. You fought in the Civil War on one side or the other, but now you're on Mars doing some shit. So it's almost like John Carter, except instead of falling asleep in a cave, you actually sailed to Mars on an Aether ship. And now you're there, trying to still lift wood or something. I don't know, but yeah. I will go on the record, guys, in front of you and anyone who wants to listen and say point blank that colonialism is not necessarily a bad thing. As a matter of fact, in in the history of our earth, as often as not, and maybe more often than not, colonialism has been a good thing. So I don't know why so many modern people are like, colonialism, that's such a horrible thing. And it's like, but is it though? The hex map version of 1889 is it's ironclads and air galleon, sky galleons or something like that, and it's a war game. And then of course another hex map game, if you're just talking about in general, is BattleTech, which, yeah, I love me some BattleTech. I have to admit, love me some BattleTech. But yeah. Of course, my favorite miniatures war game of all time, and I've got one of my ships for it right here, is Manowar by Game Design Workshop. It came out in the early 90s. These cells, of course, I 3D printed, like with the rat lines and everything. Those are 3D printed so that my Bretonnian Corsair would look extra cool. And I 3D printed some like third-rate cells for my Bretonnian galleons to make them look extra cool. But yeah, I think Manowar might have been the best Game Design Workshop, or Games Workshop, ever made. Yeah, it's like, okay, if you're anti-colonialism, which the people who make Trench Crusade are making a big deal out of it, which is, kind of making me be like, you guys are idiots. So basically you're saying the Spanish putting an end to the shit the Aztecs were doing was a bad thing. So anyone who ever says colonialism is evil, just ask them that. Do you think the Spanish putting an end to what the Aztecs were getting up to was a bad thing? Or, sometimes it's bad, like what the Belgians did in the Congo was pretty bad, but sometimes it's not bad. It's like, so just saying my son cuts cells for his Lego ships he builds. That is awesome. Yeah, I've got the Blood and Plunder. So if you look behind me in that corner that I'm pointing at, you'll see I've got a bark, a carrack, a frigate, like a 6-rate frigate or something like that, a couple of Bermuda schooners or whatever they're called, sloops, Bermuda sloops. That's a fun game. That is a fun game. If you like, Sid Meier's Pirates. Yeah, BattleTech Classic, I agree. And Lee, I am one of those weirdos that strictly sticks to 30-25. I am a Succession War guy. I have people I talk to that swear up and down other eras are better. They like the clans. They like the Ilkhans or whatever. I'm like, nope. Free Worlds League, baby. Purple mechs. Well, actually, I paint my mechs up in various camouflage patterns. Like, I haven't done his guns yet, but that's a Black Knight in just a standard OD green scheme. Because a lot of times, if you just paint them up in a standard camo scheme, then you can use them for any house. You know what I mean? Because every house paints their mechs up, to match the environment they're going to be fighting in. They all do that. Well, I mean, modern day colonialism wouldn't be great. I mean, people in, I don't know, somewhere would probably be pretty pissed off if America just started landing, you know, in somebody's country and was like, well, this is ours now. You know, we like to think we're more civilized than that, right? But the age of exploration and shit, no, I mean, it's like, and I always mention this guy, even though he's a massive scumbag, he's on Twitch. You've got a lot of like Hassan Piker types that are always bitching about colonialism. And it's like, dude, you are a Turk. Your people come from northern China, but you are currently sitting your asses in Cappadocia. And you've renamed Constantinople to Istanbul. So if you hate colonialism so much, why don't you pack your Turkish asses up and go back to Asia? Right? Because they'll be like, all the Europeans in America should leave. Well, all the Turks should leave Cappadocia because that's not your place. You were not there. All the Arabs in North Africa, get the fuck out. Right? I mean, so it's like, where do you draw the line on when colonialism is good or not? And usually it's right about when America started. And everything before that, we can just ignore. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's okay. You know, the Mongols rampaging all the way to Poland. Who cares? Which I don't care. I think it's kind of awesome. Love the Mongolians. Very interesting. The House of Rurik from Sweden conquering most of the Slavs. I think that was pretty neat. Cool. You know, whatever. So I don't get offended by it, but yeah, you got these leftists that will bitch about colonialism. And it's like, bitch, you did it too. You did it too. So, you know, it's like, can you imagine an Arabic person or a Turk having the nerve to yell at a white person, a European, for slavery? And it's like, what? We ended slavery way before you did. And as a matter of fact, the only reason the Ottoman Turks ended slavery is because the British forced them to do it. Otherwise, they'd still probably have slaves there. They do in North Africa right now. But these people want to talk shit to us about it, right? It's like, no. I reject your bullshit. If you are a Turk or an Arab, you do not get to tell Europeans anything about colonialism or slavery, because whatever the Europeans may have done, the Turks and the Arabs did it like times 50. So yeah, not hearing it. Sorry. But like I said, though, I don't even understand why people get all pissed off about it. It's like, being mad about colonialism is like being mad that it rains sometimes, you know? It's like it's like shouting at the sky, you know? You're mad about something that just happens and has always happened and, you know, possibly may happen. I mean, you could argue that there's colonialism going on in Europe and the United States right now, because so many people from non-European and non-United States areas are moving to those areas. Then you have to ask yourself, is that colonialism? Like, is the United States currently being colonized by the immigrants that are moving in? Is Europe being colonized by immigrants moving in? Or does that not count? Right? I mean, basically, I think the thing that aggravates me the most is the lack of consistency. You know, it's like, it's okay when one group does it, but it's not okay if another group does it. And living in America right now with Trump deporting people, it's like the more that shit goes on, the more racial it seems, but not from the white people. Because all the people bitching about illegal immigrants getting booted out of the country are white liberal boomers who just want something to bitch about, and Hispanics. And that makes me wonder if there is a racial angle here, because Like the other day, they deported a Russian guy that was in the country illegally. No one said a word. No one said shit. No one cared. And I didn't care either. He was a Russian guy. He was in the country illegally. He was on the Interpol list. He needed to go. But all of the people whining on TV, they didn't jump up and say, hey, you've got to let, Ivan Solmakov back in. You can't just deport him. No one said a word. Because, we can deport all of the Europeans and Canadians we want out of this country, and the people that bitch the most about it will not say a word. But if we try to deport, gangbangers back to Central America, all of a sudden people get pissed. And that makes me think that there's a racial undercurrent here that maybe most European descent people like myself don't get, because we don't think of it that way, but they do. So, yeah, I mean, but that's just me ranting, and I apologize if that pudding went off. But yeah, I am getting back, Lee, to your thing though. Yes, classic Battletech, love it. My brother and I, whenever he visits, we still throw down 350 tons or 300 tons, a Lance of 4 out of the 3025, and I have the original 3025 TRO book, and we can do it by tonnage since there's no advanced technology or anything. So usually I take like an Orion, right. I take an Orion, a Griffin, a Wasp, and a Thunderbolt a lot of times. That's my go-to Lance. And depending on what my opponent is doing, I will use that really fast light mech to like stay at long range, but try to get line of sight on people so that I can indirect fire LRMs. My favorite mech is the Griffin, 55 ton. And I especially like the House Merrick variant, which replaces the plasma gun, or not plasma, but the particle projector with a large laser, and puts a medium laser and more heat sinks, so that you end up with it has less overall damage potential, but it has better endurance, because you can just fire shit every turn while you're running around. I should have mentioned that we play only 3025, but we do allow 3025 house specific mech design. So like if I'm playing a Marauder, it's going to be the House Merrick variant with the large lasers instead of the PPCs. And then it's got more heat sinks and armor. So it turns the Marauder from a very substandard mech to a mech that can actually get out there and rumble with people. You know what I'm saying? But my favorite mech is the Griffin. And the Griffin comes from an anime called Dougram, Fang of the Sun. It was the bad guy mech. And the Shadowhawk was the Dougram, which was the good guy mech. Well, I mean, everybody loves the Jenner Lee. That's a thing. First off, it was named for Bruce Jenner before he became Caitlyn Jenner, but even so, it doesn't matter. One of the greatest natural athletic people to ever live. And secondly, it's fast as shit, and it can hit really hard. My problem with the Jenner, though, is that people see the 4 medium lasers and the SRM pack, and they think that they want to run up and fight with it. But if your opponent is staggering out his formation right, when you run up and hit one of his mechs, he's going to hit that Jenner, and its armor is so paper thin, that's the end of a Jenner. You know what I mean? If the guy rolls good, that'll just be the end of your Jenner. It is dead. So for me, I like light mechs that typically carry 1 or 2 lighter weapons, like a medium laser, whatever, and I use them as you would use a light mech. It's a scout. It's out there running around trying to spot the enemy so that your missile boats in the back can start dropping the arty on them. You know what I mean? The indirect fire LRMs. I do not use light mechs to brawl because you can get in a lot of trouble that way. Hungar knows. But of course, in Alpha Strike, I did field a company of mechs, and one lance of that company was just 4 urban mechs because they're 11 points each in Alpha Strike. So for 44 points, the price of a awesome assault mech, you got 4 of these guys with AC 10s, and you just put them in a tree line and dare anything to come near them. And yeah, they're going to die if your opponent decides they really want to kill them. But if anything on the lighter side of the mech weight class gets within 24 inches or whatever, 4 AC 10s. Boom, 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 boom. And if you hit him, I mean, he's done. It's just like, you know, take him right out. I mean, you can threaten medium mechs with 4 AC 10s, you know, but no, the best mech at any weight class overall in the 3025 TRO Hungar, the absolute most efficient best mech of all is the Thunderbolt. That's just a fact. The T-Bolt is the best mech. I mean, for efficiency, for when you look at the amount of damage it can cause, the amount of damage it can take, and the tonnage and the mobility, nothing in the book compares. Like, yeah, the Atlas is better, but it's also 35 tons heavier, right? I mean, but for just pure mathematical efficiency, Thunderbolt, that thing is a monster. I mean, it can take so much damage and dish out so much damage at every range that it's just, I mean, it's really, I always take Thunderbolt. And then my Griffin, I bounce around with and snipe with. The Lu Wei Bing is my favorite miniature. I'm not sure what that one is. Hungar typically plays Time to Go to Sleep. Yep. Hungar typically plays Draconis Combine. So he likes to use like the what is it? The Javelin 4F and shit like that. Which is like all they did is tuck like a javelin and tuck the missiles off of it and just put 4 medium lasers on it. So it's like it's a 35-ton mech like the Jenner, except it's not as fast, but it has much more armor and it's still got the damage potential. So that thing is nasty. That's a nasty mech. The Catapult is a great mech because you can hide it behind hills or trees, unload your LRMs, and then if you need to run up and brawl, it's got 4 medium lasers, and you know, 4 medium lasers is not anything to joke about. I mean, that again, that's the potential of 20 damage. So statistically, if you're playing the game right, you're going to get at least 10. How many Urbies can you buy for the cost of the mech? Yeah. And can it take out that many Urbies? That is not a bad way to think about it, Doc. And like I said, in Alpha Strike, the urban mech is an 11-point mech. That is dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. And I dropped the money a while back, which it wasn't a whole lot at the time. This is maybe 2 years ago. I bought a company of urban mechs because Catalyst sold a company of urban mechs. And I just painted up the 4 lances like different camo patterns. But yeah, I've got some mechs laying around here right now, actually, that I have so many things that I want to paint. Plus, every now and then, if I see something that really, really appeals to me, I have to 3D print it. So this, I think Matt C is the creator. This is, they took the Robotech Zentradi or whatever battle pod, command pod, and they mixed it with the Catalyst Marauder. So it's kind of like a weird hybrid of the Robotech and the actual BattleTech, the modern BattleTech thing. And it's the correct size because the Catalyst mechs they're not 6 mil anymore. They're like a slightly larger scale. And when I saw this bad boy, I was like, yeah, I got to get that. And if I ever use a Marauder, of course, it'll be the Merrick variant. Plus, I love that stance. I mean, that guy, the way its stance is, it's looking like it's ready to throw down. You know? I'll probably paint that camo, ambush pattern, something like that. Here's a good mech. It's an assault mech, so I don't take them very often. And it's not finished, but I was using this in a video, which I've since deleted, to show how easy it is to paint a mech. And that's the Stalker, the Walking Egg. And of course, this one's the purple white of, I think, the 5th Merrick Militia. But yeah, if you can watch your heat, because this thing will overheat and cook, this thing can be a monster. I mean, it can be, large lasers, medium lasers, LRMs, SRMs, whatever you want. I mean, but the problem is if you don't watch what you're doing with that guy. Well, this is an actual Catalyst Games model. The Marauder is a 3D print. I printed it up on my Saturn Pro. I've got a Saturn 3 Pro. It prints at 12K resolution. So yeah, I mean, it can print things up that look really good. Here's another one from that Lance. This is a Wolfhound, but you can see I've got the white and purple from the Merrick Militia, and this is the variant that has like a large laser and 3 medium lasers in the torso. But yeah, it's Wolfhound. Good mech. Good mech. Yep. And then of course Hungar's got probably a battalion of mechs all painted various Draconis Combine paint schemes. So, you know, first Sword of Light, second Sword of Light, third Sword of Light. He's got some Ghost Legion mechs that are painted like cloud gray. And they all have the little, you know, triangle with the sword and the dragon. Because I bought the transfers for Free League, Free World League, and Draconis Combine. So, you know, some of my mechs have the purple eagle in the triangle and like that. So a lot easier than trying to freehand it. I used to freehand the symbols on with like a 10-0 brush, but now I just, you know, transfer. And a lot of my mechs I actually use Warhammer transfers on. I have a whole Lance that has like on part of them they have a number, and on the other part they have like the Space Wolf head howling. And it looks good, you know. It looks good. That actually, the easiest way to paint a mech, honestly, for me, and I've showed it off a few times, is you paint the mech black, and then you just start light dry brush whatever color you want the mech to actually be. And if you want it to be multiple colors, then you dry brush which side and which side. And if you're really careful, you dry brush it up. That, like this green guy started out black, and then he got the OD green dry brush, right? And he'll be done when I paint his cockpit glass and the guns on him, a metallic. And I'll probably go and paint the gaps in the armor where the actual mechanisms are, paint that metallic, and then it's basically done. I mean, if you're pretty skilled at dry brushing, the technique of dry brushing, you really can paint mechs really easy that look absolutely amazing on the table. You know, like people will see them and be like, holy shit, that's a good looking mech, man. And, you know, which isn't to say I don't have a bunch of mechs that I painted up in House Steiner colors. And I painted them all up in like Eastern Front ambush patterns. So they're that orange, or no, that red, brown, and middle stone and green. And then, you know, little dots in that. So they're done up to look like World War II German ambush pattern. I recently purchased this. This is the Vallejo Artist whatever Express paints, which is Vallejo's version of contrast paints. And man, I have been killing some of my paint jobs with that. I mean, and I don't brag because I didn't become a proficient painter until I stopped giving a shit about how my miniatures looked. Because back in the 90s, early 2000s, I played a lot of Games Workshop games, and I really cared about how my miniatures compared to other people's miniatures. And it gave me like this weird sort of painting paralysis where nothing was ever good enough. And, you know, I never wanted to show other people what I painted. I always felt like my paint job sucked. And at some point I got to where I was like, yeah, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to try and slap some paint on this shit and get it on a table. And by lowering my standards, it made it where I actually started getting armies painted, you know. And then the same thing happens, whether people are being polite or it's true. When anyone comes over to play games with me and they see my miniatures, they're always like, damn, those look great. And I'm always like, thanks, you know. But I use some contrasts too, you know. This is a weirwood or whatever, and I'll use that sometimes for like weapons. Hey, what's up, Mobius? For like weapon halves and other things that should be dark brown, you know, I'll use this. But like, I need to do the gold, and he needs, I think, a face wash. But I've showed this guy off before. But this is a 3D print I did. And the guy who made it, what he does is he makes like miniatures that are based on the style that Marauder and Citadel used to make in the 90s. So the dwarves are really squatty looking, you know, and everything like that. And while you can argue that the new Games Workshop miniatures are better looking, Mobius, I don't know. There's a charm to those old hand sculpted miniatures, you know, because a lot of people don't know this, but all the new Games Workshop miniatures, they're not hand sculpted. They're sculpted on computer. And then the masters are 3D printed. And then once they've got the masters, then they convert it down and get molds cut for plastic injection molding. But the early part of the 2000s and the 90s, all of their figures were hand sculpted. Like a lot of them were sculpted by the Perry brothers, but various other people hand sculpted them. And yeah, not trying to be like an elitist or anything, but there is just a certain level of, I don't know what you would even say, gravitas or whatever to those old school hand sculpted mechs with all their, or not mechs, miniatures, with all their little stupid, you know, warts and all. There was just something I really liked about them, you know. So yeah, The guy I'm talking about is a British guy whose online handle is Big Mr. Tong. And he's got a Patreon, and he also puts miniatures out on like Cults and My Mini Factory. What's up, Jose? How you doing, bro? And I think he must have worked for Games Workshop, because a while back he did a contest and the winner actually got the rubber mold of the Marauder orcs that used to exist like in 96, the red skinned orcs or whatever. So I think he might have been a sculptor for Games Workshop at some point, like years and years ago. And now he makes STLs of that style of miniature. And yeah, I love it. I love it. Might not be the most realistic, the most whatever, but yeah. So Jose, I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a good day, your job and everything like that. I unfortunately didn't get anything I wanted to get done today because I was too busy being a Viking. As you do sometimes, you know what I mean? But contrasts, when they first come out, I didn't like them at all. But some of the new contrast paints are absolutely amazing. And we've talked about this before, Lee, so I know we're just going over ground we've already ran over before. But I'm going to say it again. The Bad Moon Yellow or Flash Get Yellow, whatever contrast it is the best yellow you're going to get for anything. It is absolutely outstanding. You paint a miniature white primered and you put that stuff on top of it, and it is canary bright yellow. It is amazing. And when you're painting a company of Lamentor Space Marines, the fact that now you have access to a yellow like that is such a lifesaver. Because when I painted my Lamentors 15 years ago, yeah, there was no contrast paints, and you had to paint that yellow on, and yellow is probably, if not the hardest, it's one of the hardest colors to paint. White is also really difficult to paint and make it not look chalky. But they're the new yellow's great for like Mark 6 Space Marines. Because I got a shit ton of Mark 6s from the Age of Darkness box sets. I got 2 of those box sets. And I don't use them in my army. All of my actual Legion 9 Blood Angels are wearing Mark 3 or Mark 4 armor. So the Mark 6s I would use for 40K. And has a pre-painted Orion. I'd have to look at it because, whatever. But I do love the Orion, Jose, and I've already got like 5 of them, the Catalyst ones, and I've probably got 5 Raupartha Orions too. Which, of course, the Raupartha ones are skinnier and just a bit shorter, but that's one thing is the Catalyst mechs, like I was saying earlier, they're a lot chunkier than the old metal. But the Orion is a mech I always take. At 75 tons, I am always taking the Orion. You can just go ahead and call it. I'm taking an Orion. And why? Because it is in 3025, probably. I would argue the best 75-ton mech in the book. Now, other people may disagree. The Army Painter Speed Paint Metallics are not bad, Lee. not bad. If you just want to quickly paint up a bunch of, like, say you're painting up a bunch of Imperial Knights, like for fantasy, you know, you can paint, spray prime black, highlight white, zenithal, and then go metallic, and it looks good. And then pick out the details, you know. But yeah, I think Catalyst, they've moved on past me. Like, they're not really making anything I want anymore. One, because when they very first started putting the miniatures out, it was all 30-25 stuff. And over Christmases and birthdays and stuff like that, I got a ton of those. You know what I mean? So I think at the last count, it was like 800 and something mechs. And that's counting some of the 80 something Rauparthas. I got a couple hundred of those. But now they're making like clan mechs and mechs from like Dark Age and weird shit like that. And none of that is anything I'm actually interested in. So, I mean, for those people who like all of that stuff, I'm like, hey, grats to you, man. Enjoy, you know, have the best time of your life with your mechs. But those are not mechs I'm ever going to use. So I'm never going to buy them. Yeah, I mean, if you ever find the Army Painter speed paint, like the polished silver and the hoplite gold, it is not a bad choice for metallics. Now, if you're a really, really good painter, Lee, and you're one of those guys that can do non-metallic metallics and all that crazy stuff, then you're way beyond my painting level. And you don't need to listen to anything I got to say. But if you got a bunch of heavily armored guys that you just need to be silver, then this stuff will make it happen. It'll be silver for you, you know. Armor will look like armor. It will shade itself somewhat. I mean, sometimes even with the contrast paints, I find myself doing a shade and a highlight anyway, just to make it extra vibrant. But like this guy, I still need to do his teeth. But this is a 3D printed Shoggoth I did. So you see how the eyes are all like viper green, and they have like octopoid type pupils. And I painted it gloss black and then put a gloss coat on it, because Shoggoths are supposed to be slimy looking. And a good way to represent a slimy thing is make it glossy. And that's also another trick for metallics. If you paint something metallic and you want it to really stand out on the table, gloss coat the metal parts. Well, I would say gloss coat the whole miniature. And then if there's skin and stuff that you don't want glossy, go back with a fine brush and matte varnish and just matte coat the parts you don't want to be glossy, but leave the gold and the polished steel parts glossy. And looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. But on my table right now, I have contrasts like Guilliman Flesh. I do like this. I have speed paints from Army Painter. And then I've got Express Paint from Vallejo. Express Colors. And then on top of that, I've got my Pro Acryls. Pro Acryl makes brilliant metallic. Brilliant metallic. I got a bunch of fire trucks over there, huh? Yeah, the boys have been running all day today. All day today, I've heard them. And the other day when the wife and I went to the store, one of the guys that I used to work on shift with quite a bit was at the Publix, and we chatted. Dude, he made it to his retirement. 20 and out is what we do. And now he's working for like DeLand or something, some other county. So he's got his pension from our department and he's working at another department because, I mean, he's still young. He started as a firefighter when he's like 23. So he's like 43 years old. Fire hydrant in use. Yeah, that's fire. And he's so happy because the department he works with right now doesn't do medical transportation, which we did. So pretty much if they get a medical call, they show up, they stabilize the patient, and then the hospital sends an ambulance out. Whereas we have to transport to the hospital. And a lot of people don't like that. Me, I don't care. I mean, honestly, I'll tell you a secret about firefighting. That's not a secret. When it comes to like intellectual stuff, the medical calls are much more interesting because on a fire call, say you're dealing with a structure fire, which is what we did, like house fires, you know, you're going to do the same thing basically every time. You know, you're going to make sure the utilities are off in the building so that you don't electrocute yourself. So you're going to pull the electricity off. You're going to set up people to be safeties. You're going to hook up the hose. You're going to run a line. And depending on whether or not you can make entry, you're going to make entry. You're going to find a seat of the fire. You're going to hit it with the wet stuff until it goes away. So yeah, it's pretty much mechanical. You know, but medical calls, you never 100% know what you're looking at, you know, every single time. Because one, women do not show heart attacks, cardiac events the way men do. Like when you run on a man, if he said, oh man, my arm hurts and I feel like an elephant's on my chest, you're like, okay, this guy's got a cardiac thing going on. Let's get a 12 lead and, you know, get him hooked up, right? But a woman can be like, my butt really hurts. She's having a heart attack because women are weird. Lee, I'll catch you later. I'm getting ready to end this anyway. It's been like 2.5 hours. But yeah, that's my old bro. We started out together working as plumbers, and we both ended up at the fire department. And now he's got his retirement. But not only does he work at another station now, another department, but he's got a part-time at one of our local theme parks. Because if you work as a medic at one of the theme parks we call it the Band-Aid wagon, then your kids and everything get free admission. So not only is it worth it because they pay like $20 an hour to go sit on a golf cart and treat scrapes and bruises and shit, but the real benefit is if you've got kids and you want to take them to the park, you know, whether it's Disney, Universal, wherever you work, you know, because you can work at all of them or any of them, whatever. You can get your kids in for free. And if you're talking like Universal Studios, which is charging now like $70 a ticket or some shit, Disney's like, you know, whatever. So let's say you're me and you've got 2 kids. Well, if your family goes to Universal, because you work there, you all get in free. You just saved $350 because you work 2 or 3 shifts a month as a medic. And the other best thing about working at a park as a medic is no one who gets injured at the park, unless they're like dying, ever wants to be transported anywhere. Because they paid so much money to get into the park, the last thing they want is to go out of the park, right? So typically you just roll up and, you know, bandage them up or whatever they need, you know, give them fluids if they're dehydrated or something like that. And as soon as they feel better, they're like, thank you so much. And they go on their way. You fill out your paperwork on a tablet, no less. And then you just hang out until you get another call. So, and then for that, you get paid a very decent wage and free admittance into the parks. I mean, it's pretty beautiful, really. See, that's not me. I always said, because a lot of guys are like, when I retire, I'm going to do this and that and start a business and get a job. And you know, and that's what this guy's done. And I always was like, when I retire, I ain't doing shit. You know what I mean? But some people, I guess, are just way more motivated than others. But yeah, more power to him. Like you said, God bless him. He's out there putting fires out and stuff. Where he's working now is a lot more rural. Like where I live, like every building, you know, is built to a high code, and a lot of the commercial buildings have sprinkler systems. So, you know, fire calls aren't that big of a deal. It's almost 99% medical. But where he is out in the county, out in the weeds there, totally different. They get fire calls all the time. Same to you, Squirrel Hermit. And I'm going to close this up and either go to sleep or run around. I need to kill some more wolves and do Viking shit. But anyway, peace and love to all of you. This has been a really good Monday. And, you know, I'll have to do a video and do a little like, no way I can be as good as Dungeon Minister. That guy's just an amazing speaker, as you would think he would be. But maybe I should do something explaining what happened last night in our game, you know, do a little video talking about it. It was a lot of fun, not just for me, but for them. Especially, and I've already said this once, but I will repeat it before I hit the end stream. Since I've started having the players roll for Wandering Monsters and all the stuff that usually the DM rolls for, it's been a lot more fun for me, because if I'm all like, okay, babe, because my wife plays, I'm like, roll the dice 6 to see if you get a Wandering Monster, and she rolls and she's like, it's a 1. I'm like, okay, now you got to roll die 20 to see what shows up. And just the look on her face, you know, it's like, they're like, oh shit, you know, and I'm just sitting there like, ha, I ain't got to worry about it anymore. And then, like I said, I tell all the other players, don't be mad at me. I didn't roll that shit. They did. You know what I mean? What a cop out, right? But anyway, we'll catch you later. Good night.